Okay, so let's take a look. You should have this notes page in front of you, and so I want you to do anything that I write, you should be writing down. Okay, so the first thing you need to know are your units of measurement. Those words, unit of measurement, just tell us how we're measuring something. So for example, we have distance here. We could measure it in miles. We could measure it in feet. But usually in science, we have one of these three things. Usually you're going to see meters, kilometers, or centimeters used to measure distance in science. Okay? You may see miles, you may see something different, but these are the three that you usually see. The next is time. Time is like how long is it going to take me to do something. So we have hours, we have seconds, and we have minutes. Okay? And then finally, we have our unit of measurement for speed. Now, since we calculate speed, distance over time, it's a combination of the two. So if you take a look, we have m/s, which represents meters per second. We have km over hr, which means kilometers per hour. Notice that sounds very similar to our speed limit on the highway, miles per hour. So anytime you have a distance over a time, it's a measurement of speed. Okay? Now you need to know how to use your magic triangle. Each magic triangle kind of gives you just this cheat sheet for how to use these calculations. You're always going to be calculating for some missing value. Okay, the original formula is distance divided by time, which would give you speed. Okay, but sometimes they'll ask you for different things. Okay, so if you see here in my triangles, it's showing you what you need to do in order to solve for the missing value. So if they ask you, okay, what's the speed of this object? If I cover up the S in my triangle, that leaves me with distance divided by time. If they ask me, how long is this going to take? How much time did it take? If I cover up the T, then I'm left with distance divided by speed. If they ask me how far did it travel, then notice I cover up the D, and now I'm going to do speed multiplied by time. Okay, so let's go and let's work through some example problems together. Yours should look exactly like mine, and then you'll do the last three on your own. Okay, so let's take a look. First, we're going to draw our triangle every time. The D goes on top, and the S and T on the bottom. Draw your division symbols, and then your multiplication symbol between the S and the T. Okay, the problem says the car traveled 30 meters, put a box around that, in 15 seconds. So then it asks us, what was the speed of the car in meters per second? Okay, well, since they're asking us what was the speed, I'm going to come down to my triangle and I'm going to mark out the S. I know that is the value that I'm looking for. Okay, so then I can just plug in my other numbers. I have distance divided by time, which we write just D over T. Okay, well, 30 meters would be my distance. 15 seconds would be my time. So then you could just plug that into your calculator or divide it if you're good at division in your head. 30 divided by 15 gives me 2. Now, it does tell me in my problem that my speed needs to be in meters per second, which makes sense because that's already here. Notice we have m over s. So that's what we're going to keep for our speed, 2 meters per second. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says the car traveled 50 kilometers traveling at a speed of 5 kilometers per hour. How long did it take the car to travel 50 kilometers? Okay, well, I'm going to draw my triangle. Again, distance always goes on top, speed and time. Draw your symbols. Okay, they asked me how long did it take. That's time. So I'm going to mark out time. That leaves me with distance divided by speed. Okay, well, my distance is up here. It's 50 kilometers. Okay, and then it gives us the speed as 5 kilometers per hour. All right, so then I just do 50 divided by 5. And here's your reminder, when you see the problem set up like this, the top number is what would go in your calculator first because you are dividing 50 by 5. So you would put in 50 divided by 5. That should give you 10. And now to figure out what our unit of measurement for our answer is, well, they asked us how long, right? That's why we marked out our T for time. Well, if I look back at my problem, I have kilometers, but that's my distance. I also have hours, so that must be my time. So my answer is 10 hours. It took us 10 hours to go 50 kilometers. So here it says the car was traveling 6 meters per hour for 12 hours, and it wants to know how far did the car travel. Okay, well, let's go ahead and draw our triangle. Make sure you include your symbols for division and multiplication. Okay, it's asking us how far. So I know I need to mark out the distance. That leaves me with speed multiplied by time. So I get 6 meters per hour times 12 hours. Well, if I go 6 meters per hour for 12 hours, multiply those two, I get 72. Now the question is, what's my unit of measurement for my answer? Well, since I'm looking for how far, I'm looking for distance. Well, hours would be the measurement for time, so I can't use that. Meters, however, is the distance. So in 12 hours, this object, this car, would travel 72 meters.